The Kyoto Animation Arsonist is being given the death penalty. What? Who could have foreseen this?
Literally all of us.
Are they going to burn him again?
I think as just comeuppance, he should be set on fire.
Burned to death.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I think
set on fire and then hung.
He's definitely getting cremated.
Yeah, he's already immune to fire after his last ordeal with it.
No, they should set on fire again and then find a new technology off of his skin.
Yeah.
While he's still alive, and just like keep using him.
Take his remaining skin. All right. Anyway, so Shinji Aoba was handed the death penalty on Thursday for setting a Kyoto Animation studio on fire in 2019 and killing 36 people in one of Japan's deadliest mass murders. The Kyoto District Court found the 45-year-old man guilty of setting the 3-story building on fire because of a grudge he had against KyoAni. He claimed the studio had stolen his ideas after it rejected his novels in an annual contest the company hosts, and there's no evidence the company plagiarized any of his work. Well, that's not what evidence was presented. Alba also sustained heavy burns over most of his body in the attack. On Thursday morning, 409 people lined up for a chance to secure one of the 23 seats available to listen to the court's ruling. Some members of the bereaved families were also present. The focus of the trial was on whether he was mentally competent enough to be held criminally liable. Now, missing most of his eyebrows and wearing a mask, can't you just feel the contempt he has staring daggers at the camera guy right now? Like
He's
this
like,
is
if only I could burn that guy holding the camera.
You know in Berserk when you see Griffith's like death glare, it's like that's it. Like
I don't know what I was expecting, but he looks different than my head image of him.
He looks like burnt.
Presiding Judge Keisuke Matsuda said Alba was not mentally incompetent, nor in a diminished state at the time of the crime, judging that he is criminally liable for what he did. Okay, everybody hear that? The judge says he was not mentally incompetent or in a diminished state. He was top form. Do you hear me? This man right here was at the top of his class, the peak levels of mental acuity at the time of this attack.
The apex of humanity.
I mean, considering it was all premeditated, of course that's...
The ruling said that Alba headed to Kyoto from his home in the city of Saitama and set the studio on fire to stop number 2, a figure from his delusions, from following him. Damn! Mentally not diminished at all, completely competent mental state. Believed a shadowy figure known as number 2 was following him. But the impact of the delusions on the crime is not large. He only did it to stop this delusional shadowy figure from following him, but that shouldn't be seen as enough of a reason that he, like
is number 2 in the room with us right now.
Right. The liability of taking the lives of 36 people is extremely grave, so there is no reason for the death penalty to be avoided. Prosecutors had said he was competent enough and had argued that the death penalty was the only option given the gravity of Alba's crime. The defense team, meanwhile, had argued that he should be acquitted or receive a reduced sentence due to his diminished mental capacity or mental capability. 2 psychiatrists who testified in court were also divided over his mental state. This is just a recap. A survivor who had testified in court said she escaped from a window after she was splashed with gasoline. She sustained burns over 94% of her body and had to undergo surgery 49 times. 49. How does that work? I feel despair whenever I look in the mirror. It's grueling to live with this body, she said. In a December session, he apologized to the victims and their families and said that he should atone for what he did through the death penalty. Well, hold up. I guess nobody told his lawyers because an appeal has been filed to block the death penalty for the KyoAni arsonist. We'll come back to that.
I like to think that it's going to take so long for the proceedings to go through that he's dead while they're still appealing it.
It's like, come on,
Your Honor.
stay alive. We have to kill you.
I was gonna make that joke, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay. All right. So anyway, they said he also said in September that he didn't think so many people would die. Prosecutors also revealed during the 22 trial sessions that a month before the 2019 incident, Alba had plotted a mass stabbing spree at the Omiya station in Saitama Prefecture, but that he decided against it at the last minute. That's a sign of sanity, right? When you plan a mass murder, but then say, let's not. Before the ruling was handed down, Judge Masuda asked Alba, who was in a wheelchair and wearing a blue tracksuit, if he had anything to say, to which he replied, nope, I don't. KyoAni President Hideaki Hata said in a statement afterward that although he thought the ruling was appropriate, his feelings of frustration remained strong. And nevertheless, Hata said he hopes to continue making anime at KyoAni, so the works of the victims will be passed on into the future. All right. So let's see what the defense had to say about this. So the defense maintains the defendants should not be held responsible for his actions. So he was sentenced to death by hanging.
Set on fire first.
Alba's defense lawyer has now filed an appeal in an attempt to block his execution. Whether or not Alba set the fire is not in question, as he was apprehended fleeing the scene and has admitted not only to starting the fire, but that he chose this specific method but he chose his specific methods because they would allow him to kill a large number of people. The appeal instead focuses on whether the now 45-year-old Alba's mental condition at the time allows him to be held legally responsible for his actions. The defense's argument is that Alba was in a delusional state at the time and so should not be punished for his actions. Alba himself has stated that his anger at KyoAni stemmed from submissions he had made to the company's periodic novel writing contest. In its initial ruling on Thursday, the court asserted that Alba is legally culpable. The court cited the scale of his crime, the arson attack, the largest mass murder on record in the history of modern Japanese criminal justice system, as well as its calculated, premeditated nature. On the morning of the attack, Alba purchased a large quantity of gasoline in order to accelerate the fire and wheeled it to the studio using a handcart, during which the cart noted that he had ample opportunity to abandon his plan. In addition, the court stated that, quote, the defendant has shown no sign of sincere remorse, which perhaps isn't so surprising considering his initial reaction to learning that he killed 36 people was a nonchalant, oh, is that so? Anyway, so the appeal is likely going to hinge on trying to convince the justice system that no one who chooses to kill because of a perceived personal slight can be considered of sound enough mind to be legally held responsible. That's a tall task, though, as societally, Japan, for the most part, is not of the belief that legitimate mental illness is the root of all violent crimes, and so it's likely that the appeal by Alba's defense will do nothing more than delay his eventual execution. Yep.
What I read out of this is like, Your Honor, they only hijacked Flight 93 because they thought the World Trade Center owed them money. You should hold them responsible. Like, it's obvious that no matter his mental state, he still did it. He still intended to do it. He planned it out. He deserves what he gets.
Listen, who's really at fault here? Is it the terrorist who flew the plane or the CIA who put it in his hands, right? Like, I'd love to see that happen on court. So anyway, I've also got this. The mother of the late Naomi Ishida, a color designer at Kyoto Animation who is credited for The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, Silent Voice, Liz and the Bluebird, and more, stated to the NHK today, quote, it took a long time, but a verdict was finally reached. I was finally able to announce it to the family altar, which holds Ishida and her father, who passed away in 2023. Just when I felt like my heart had some closure, I was saddened to hear the news of the appeal. The mother of the late Mikiko Watanabe, who is credited as the art director for Violet Evergarden, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and more, also spoke to the NHK, saying, quote, "The defendant knows what he did was wrong, and I hope he will stop the appeal." Well, he did say, "I deserve it. I deserve to die." All right, so then I've also got this little bit here. During his trial, Alba apologized to the victims and claimed that if he had received the kind of support he'd received in the Osaka detention center where he was held, he may not have committed the attack. Because there was a nice nurse that was kind to him.
Showed them half an inch of cleavage by accident.
Kyoto Animation president had this to say, quote, "In accordance with the rules of law, we have received the appropriate response and judgment. To the judges who carried this heavy responsibility for such a long period of time, and to the investigators, police, court clerks, and all others who were engaged in conducting a fair investigation and trial, I wish to express my deep respect. Even after the judgment, the sadness I feel has not changed in the slightest. I feel nothing but pain in my heart when I think of the members of Kyoto Animation who lost their lives, those who were injured, and of the sadness of their loved ones. I pray that remembering the animated works that they put their hearts and souls into, and the surviving members' efforts every day to continue making such works, will connect their spirit to us, including those who have joined Kyoto Animation since the incident took place. We will devote ourselves to continuing to value our workers, display their individual talents, and create animated works from here on." Blah, 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 blah. So here's what the attending physician said. Well, they say Alba himself sustained heavy injuries. Whoops. Heavy injuries from the flames he set, with burns covering over 90% of his body when he was taken into custody. Over the next 4 months, Ueda served as Alba's attending physician, performing an extensive series of skin transplants using cultured copies of Alba's remaining skin. Knowledge gained from the procedures has since been used to save the life of a burn victim elsewhere in Japan who was injured in a separate incident. So this is what they had to say. Quote, "I believe you could say that saving Alba's life was meaningful, as it allowed for him to stand trial. I'm sorry, though, but I have absolutely no sympathy for him, and I want him to feel the weight of the crime he committed." Well, I saved him, but fuck that guy. Anyway, okay. Any new that I just wanted to close out. I think we're at the end of this.
Yeah.
I think the appeals.
I like to think like the orderlies or who served him just kept not serving him his hot food and kept it cold and just waited until it got cold the entire time. He never got a hot meal.
Possibly.